Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crossover Podcast. My name's David Shynock. If you can't tell, the setup is once again a little bit different today. As I mentioned before, I'm editing everything via phone, so I'm not able to add in any effects. I'm not able to add in really anything at all, and plus I haven't been able to anyways because it's been month close. So I'm recording this at 12:42 at night, and we'll have it up tomorrow morning on time. Thursday, I got to figure out what I'm doing, but once again, it's solo for a bit. But it's kind of nice because this is the first time since Sunday that I'm able to just stop and take a breather, relax, talk a little bit about gaming. A lot of stuff has happened over the last week. First, I should probably address, yes, I got my hair cut finally. I'm wearing glasses because after a week of staring at a screen, it just gets a little much. So the whole look's going to be a little bit more different today than most times. The first topic to start off with is probably the most obvious, and that's First Strike Valorant. I must absolutely commend Riot for everything that they were able to do with this tournament. I played a little bit of Valorant at the beginning, but kind of stopped playing it rather quickly. CSGO and Valorant aren't necessarily my style games to play, but they are a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And this weekend was no exception, with 100 Thieves taking home the title of being arguably, I would say the best, I'd say one of the best Valorant teams in the world. I don't know if I put them in number one yet. Heretics definitely surprised in EU, but I would definitely go out on a limb and say 100 Thieves would be able to contend, if not maybe take the number one spot. I don't know. It was nevertheless, it was fun to watch. Hiko, I remember when he was back on Optic and people kind of memed him for being old, being kind of outdated. It just feels like he was never truly able to shine in that game. Like, he had his moments where he popped off. Obviously, most people will remember his time back on Team Liquid where they should have made finals twice and choked it away. But it just seems like this game suits him. It gives him a lot more utility where aiming's a little bit easier, which benefits him. Then you have more strategy than I think people will ever know what to do with, especially as more characters get added to the game and more maps get in. Oh, it's just going to be insane. Like, his potential in this game is pretty high as an IGL. It's one of the few games where in CSGO, when you're an IGL, there's not as much expectation to frag. I don't know if that's still the case, but at least whenever I followed it, that was always one of the conversation points. I'm curious to know if in Valorant, IGLing will be a whole separate expectation in the same way that it is in CS, or if there's going to be a similar standard to everybody else. Obviously, it won't be the same as your duelist, but I don't know. We'll see. Nevertheless, this weekend was phenomenal. Lots of good matches. G2 going down in Europe, which I was completely shocked by. I didn't watch anything in Korea, but between Europe and America, it was a very good weekend for Valorant. One kind of side note on that regard is that they did use a studio for the quarterfinals matches, which Dash was there and everybody else was remote. If they're going to be doing that format for LCS, we're in for such a good split. Oh my God. It looked beautiful. Like, there was not a single thing wrong with that setup. It was perfect. It didn't feel like when you're watching the LEC studio and you see that nobody's in there, that kind of takes away from it a little bit. Whereas this just seems like a full augmented reality green screen area that's just, it felt right. It felt like a great way to do it. And if that's Riot's plan for next year, I'm all aboard, 100%. It will be one of the better years of content that we will probably see out of the LCS visually, and as long as they have the right people on a personality-wise as well, assuming everything goes to plan. But the issue was on Saturday and Sunday, everything was remote again because somebody got COVID. So fingers crossed. Maybe we'll get it in person. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I'm hopeful, but I guess we'll see as we go. The next topic that I kind of want to bring up is more of a business thing, where it was recently announced that the Call of Duty League and the Overwatch League had prices slashed. So teams that were already in, which I don't believe they're selling to new teams. So I'm not, like, obviously they're not expanding any of the leagues, but the teams that are looking to sell are not getting those high prices that we saw before. And people are also getting their franchise fees brought down a bit. So what does that mean for both the leagues? I think for Overwatch League, it means something completely different than Call of Duty, because Overwatch League, we've seen the struggles. We've seen the league slowly start to decline as the game itself has also declined as well. And I don't know, let me scooch over here just a little bit. I don't know what you fully do to fix that. I mean, you can reduce the cost because of COVID, but that's not gonna help them long term. To me, the Overwatch League issue is more emblematic of the issue at large of the game, whereas Call of Duty is simply due to the league likely going to be a success in the long term, but people are in financial hardships at the moment. So what do? You give them a little bit of a break, especially organizations that don't have other content, apparel, or anything else to rely upon. A website, if you're TSM's case, but they're not in Call of Duty, so that's a different point. If you don't have any other source of income to rely on, this is one of the easiest ways that you can cut costs and help them out a little bit and just get them more, I guess, under control to a certain extent. It'll be effective for the teams that are in it. And for Call of Duty, I don't think you should take anything into it further. I think it just kind of is what it is. Speaking of money, this conversation has been interesting. So I've had it on Twitter, Reddit. I posted a TikTok about it. It will be as of this morning. But Forbes recently released their most valued esports organizations. And it's actually kind of mind-blowing, which let me pull up the article just so I'm not fully mistaken here in the list. But the biggest takeaway here is that there were several key revenue numbers that were brought up. Well, revenue-related numbers. And the most notable one that everybody was kind of freaking out about, other than the valuation, because let's be honest, when people see the valuation number, they get a little excited, which I get, fine, whatever. But the valuation doesn't really mean anything unless they go to sell, which none of these teams would really sell. So it just kind of, it is what it is. So the four numbers that got brought up that are important are value, the 1 year change if it was measured in the prior year, estimated revenue, and revenue from esports. So value, as I said, only likely if you're going to sell. Not many of these teams at this level are going to sell. Just kind of is what it is. The 1 year change is interesting, but when your basis to calculate the change is false, technically, or misleading or misguiding, you can't really get a good sense of whether that's accurate or not, whether the 3% growth for TSM is truly correct or whether it's false. So that you can kind of ignore. The estimated revenue number absolutely blows my mind. Luckily, everybody on Twitter and most people on Reddit are calling, not necessarily Forbes, but they're calling the article itself out, stating that you can't rely upon that revenue number, which I completely agree, because to our knowledge, unless the leagues require it, but even then we are not aware of that as outsiders looking in, we are not aware of any stipulations that these numbers must be investigated, that they must be audited properly, then they must be reported properly. Mentioned this before, but I am a staff accountant. I oversee revenue and report revenue on a daily basis for the company that I work for. This is literally my job, and I'm telling you, there's no way that any company or anybody in a position like this would ever release revenue numbers unless they were told to, or unless they had to, because they're better off keeping that information internal. That's just standard business practice literally everywhere. So the numbers that they're reporting here cannot be relied upon whatsoever. Any estimates of these revenues are completely fabricated. I don't want to say fabricated in the sense that, oh, they're completely made up. If somebody says they made 100 million, they only made 1 million. No, that's obviously not necessarily the case. They're probably within a certain ballpark. But the point is, say you have $45 million in revenue and you have $55 million in expenses annually. You're operating at a loss, a heavy loss. So, it's all relative. And even that estimated revenue, I guess that would be all-time revenue. So there's so many questions that go into this that it's like, okay, why even look into it? Why even talk about it? The most important number from all this, which I think is a great conversation starter, and it has across several different mediums, is the revenue from esports. What percentage of money do you earn as a direct result of your esports operations, whether that's a percentage of tournament winnings, whether that is media rights or sponsorships, anything that you directly get from that. So say, for example, the LCS is a franchise league, you get revenue share. That would be directly from esports. So that would be included in it, but we know that no franchise league, to our knowledge, is operating at a profit. The LCS says that they're going to be likely next year by the end of 2020. Now, granted, I think that was pre-COVID, so I'm not 100% certain on that. So don't fully quote me. But I just want to run from the bottom up and discuss some of the important factors here. Number 10, they have formerly SK Telecom, now T1, which is basically now an American company that still operates out of Korea for their League of Legends team. I don't want to get into the controversies around them, but T1 as an organization is not what they used to be. So just kind of is what it is. But they said 60% of their revenue is made from esports, which I would say generally makes sense. They make some content, not a lot. They sell some merchandise, which I'd imagine does decently well. I don't know the ins and outs of Korean League of Legends and the revenue streams there, so I can't sit here and say whether that number is correct based on public perception, but it seems relatively right within the ballpark. So you go up. Number 9, shout out to the guys at NRG. It is NRG coming in with 25% revenue from esports. That is kind of mind-blowing to a certain extent, but also I don't know. It's interesting because they don't consider Fortnite in here. So I misspoke a little bit earlier. They do include Fortnite as a non-franchised esports team. It's interesting because NRG has 100% made strides in their content. Their YouTube channel has been popping off. Instagram has been popping off. Twitter has been doing very well. I guess that would probably be a lot of their source of revenue. Merchandise would not fully be it. It's not the same caliber as somebody like Cloud9 or G2 or 100 Thieves. At least from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like they're on the same caliber. So it's definitely content that is likely carrying the majority of this, which allows them to then get sponsorships for the company as a whole, but also some of the esports teams, etc. That's an interesting one. Number 8, I don't want to go through all this. I'll kind of save that later for a little bit of a conversation. I'll kind of skip up, but I wanted to hit those two primarily. There's 2 other teams that I want to hit. So G2 at number 8, 80% of revenue from esports, kind of expected. 7 Enthusiast Gaming, which is basically like a streaming platform thing, but they also own the Seattle Surge and the Vancouver Titans. Gen G, number 6. Number 500 Thieves. Number 4, FaZe Clan. The interesting number here. So they own the Atlanta FaZe for Call of Duty. They have a FIFA, a CSGO, Fortnite, PUBG, Rainbow Six, and Valorant teams. I saw a lot of people saying they were a content team, and it's like they have a ton of esports teams, but the overwhelming majority of their revenue comes from outside of esports. Only 20% of their revenue is earned from esports, which some people want to criticize. And sure, I get that. You could say that they're not investing their full attention in the esports, but I'm sorry. Money that you make elsewhere can be invested in the esports over time. The fact that they are killing content, killing YouTube, partnerships, they have all the clout, all the celebrities, everything there. If you are a fan of FaZe Clan, you are likely a fan of more than just their esports teams. And that speaks to the culture that they were able to build way back when and carry all the way through. I have nothing but respect for FaZe. Even though I'm not a fan, even though obviously the Optic FaZe rivalry was there for a long time, you can't hate on what they do. And yeah, there will be people in comments that say, oh, but do the FaZe Fortnite kids even know what's going on? Or it's just the FaZe Fortnite kids. Congrats if they're profiting off of them. Then what are we doing? I'm sitting here recording a podcast. God only knows what everybody else is doing, but we sure ain't making money off those Fortnite kids. That's what we ain't doing. Wish we were FaZe, but we'll continue to trash talk them, thinking that that'll be the better option. Nevertheless, don't want to go on too much of a rant there. By the way, this is going to be a little bit shorter video, so I'm going to wrap this up soon. Number 3, Team Liquid. Number 2, Cloud9. Number 1, Team Solo Mid, at 50% of their revenue coming from esports operations. Not surprising, they do own, I believe it's Blitz GG. They have a lot of external web-related revenue in addition to content and everything else that they've been doing. Fortnite has been killing it for them. It's no surprise that they're number 1 to me at all. Do I trust the estimated revenue of $45 million? Absolutely not. No chance. I don't trust that whatsoever. But do I agree with the general ranking that was provided here, regardless of the revenue? Yeah, I would say they pretty much nailed the list how I would generally see it in terms of public perception. You could argue the order, sure. But in terms of the list of the top 10, yeah, they pretty much nailed it spot on. I don't really think there's anything that you can criticize on this list specifically and say, oh, they got it wrong. Oh, this was off. I just think that's fairly consistent there. Last thing that I wanted to say on a kind of lighter note before I head out is I'm still playing GTA and I'm trying to play games from television or on a bigger television back here, but it's been next to impossible with a combination of both work and everything else going on. Sorry about the cough. But one thing that I want to try outside of games, because I can't record anything or do anything there, is I want to try going golfing over the next few weeks. And I haven't played winter golf in a long time, so I'm curious to see how this goes. But I'm thinking of recording the entire round and putting it up, not necessarily on YouTube, maybe on Twitch. I'm not sure where the best platform for this would be. But I don't know. I've just been itching to play golf a little bit since I got back here. And we're only back here for a little bit. So if golf content does well, then maybe it's something I consider doing in New York. But it's like with COVID and with everything going on, if you haven't taken up golf yet, you really should. Like, it honestly is one of the most humbling sports, but also one of the most fun social activities you can do, especially while maintaining your distance from other people. It's a phenomenal time. It takes a long time to learn. But if you need any help, let me know. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a comment. I'll try and help out in any way that I can. Obviously, my time's a little bit limited right now, but the more people that get into golf, the better. I would love at some point in time to just have a gamer golf tournament. That would be fun as hell. It'd be nerdy for sure in certain areas, but I don't know. I just think it'd be fun. The more people that we get into golf, the better. It doesn't matter what the means, and I wish the PGA would understand that. You have to go to unconventional means. Which, speaking of that, Why is there not a Topgolf in Manhattan? Why have we not put a Topgolf in place of Chelsea Piers so that you have some sort of entertainment and revenue stream coming in from there consistently beyond just the driving range? Like every single other thing in the city is entertainment while also sport. So why not put in a Topgolf there? Maybe I'm just thinking separately, but like, do you know how much money that would make? Jesus, golf simulators already do well. Imagine how well an actual Topgolf would do. And it's not like you can outdrive the net. It's literally an all-encompassing net there. I don't know. I just think it'd be great. Like, I think that would be a great addition to the city. But I know you're limited on space. The city owns a portion of that, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Nevertheless, shorter episode. I promise it'll be longer later when I have more time. Unfortunately, it's 1 a.m. I got to get to bed for work tomorrow. So, everybody, have a great day. I'll catch you later. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and see you on the next episode. Goodbye.